is Laura Katanen, and I'm a lifestyle blogger and a sensory branding and marketing consultant. I live in West Hollywood with my husband, our little cat, and our 20-month-old Aiden. He just turned 20 months. It's like amazing how time flies. And I'm here today with my co-host for Lady Boss Mamas.
Hi everybody, I'm Molly Addis, and I own a clothing line called Soul Ma for breastfeeding and postpartum moms. And I have two boys who are 7 and 8 now. Bennett is 8 and Andrew is 7.
Hanna, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Hanna Baror-Padillo, and I am the founder and designer behind Sotella. And it's a clothing line for women that are going through different transitions. It's a clothing line that is made here in California and we make everything with sustainable fabrics.
Amazing. Awesome. How did you come up with the name Sotella?
So Sotella is actually, tela means fabric in Spanish, and so is the play on word like so fabric.
Oh, nice.
I have a 7-month-old daughter named Olivia, and I have 2 dogs, and I live here with my husband. We've been married for almost 5 years.
So how long have you had your clothing line, or when did you design it?
I started it almost 2 years ago.
What inspired this? So what inspired you to start it?
Yeah, so I actually knew I wanted to do a clothing line for a couple years. Before that, I was an urban planner, so I actually did transportation planning for Orange County.
Wow.
I know, it's so random. I actually went to grad school for it. And when I was in grad school, I was like, this is not what I want to do, but I already started it and I didn't want to quit. So I kept going. And when I was working, I just needed a creative outlet. So I started blogging. And I was an ethical fashion blogger for a couple of years. So I would just highlight different brands that would make their clothes like sustainably and not, and make it here locally. And I kind of realized there aren't that many options, and I didn't really like what I was seeing, and I kind of wanted something that was minimal but yet timeless and also just versatile. And so that's kind of what started the idea of starting a clothing line. And then when I was doing that idea, kind of designing, I actually was going through some health issues. I had a really bad hormonal imbalance. I had like incredible bloating. Like I looked like I was pregnant every single day, and I had bloating. I had really bad acne, like the mood swings. It was just so bad. And that lasted for maybe 6-7 months. And I went to so many doctors. There was nothing that I had in my closet that actually fit well and made me feel good about myself, because I just felt pregnant and I wasn't. So then it kind of made me wonder, like, how often do women go through different times in their life where they need clothing that fits them? And that makes them feel good without making them feel like self-conscious.
The theme of April is trust, and there was so much that came up for me. I don't know about you, Molly, but I have like all these questions buzzing in my head because you said so many things in your incredible journey and story. But the first thing that I wanted to ask you then, because it's something I can really resonate with, is you go to school for something and you're in this career, but you don't really love it. So making a change, even if it's something that inside of you, you're like, oh my God, I want that so bad, it can be scary as hell. Mm-hmm. So how do you trust that process, or how did you trust that process? What did it look like for you?
What actually I think gave me the confidence to actually go for it was I joined an accelerator program. And so this program pretty much gave me all of the tools necessary to go from idea to launch through a Kickstarter. And I think that gave me the confidence to actually do it. Because without that, I think I didn't feel like I had enough to actually do it. Because I, obviously never done it before. I don't know who to contact. I didn't know, how to actually look for fabrics. So this program really gave me that, I think. I had a game plan. Like my game plan was to launch Sotella through Kickstarter, make sure I get funded, and then quit my full-time job. Mm-hmm. And my husband and I are both, well, he still works full-time at, he works for the sheriff's department. So he has a very stable job. And I had a stable job too. I was working as a planner. And we had this goal of like, okay, I'm going to do the Kickstarter. I'm going to get funded, and then I'll see how business goes, and then I'll quit my full-time job. And it got to the point where I was like, I can't do both things full-time. Like I can't give up on my dream just because I want to make sure I have security. You know, it was kind of like I have to take this bet on myself. And so I remember from one day to the next, like I just told my husband, like I was crying, like I can't do this. And it was, I think, a couple weeks before the Kickstarter. And he was like, all right, let's do it. Just quit. And I remember the next day, like I came in with wearing a Sotella dress, and I had like my 2 weeks notice, and I went to my boss and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm sorry. Like, here you go. It's my 2 weeks notice. I told him what I was doing, and I was like, oh, by the way, I'm wearing one of my dresses.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you is, because the hardest part for me in the last couple of years is to let go and know that it's a marathon, not a race. So how do you do that? How do you trust the process, let go, know that you're not going to get the expertise and the knowledge overnight, but that the universe has your back, kind of thing?
During the Kickstarter, like it's, if you know about Kickstarters, like it's an all or nothing like platform. So you really have to, you know, kind of trust that trust that you'll get funded. And it's an emotional roller coaster. And I remember that those 30 days were the hardest 30 days ever. It was constantly questioning myself, like every single day. Like I remember I would get like a ton of sales in the beginning, and I was like, okay, like I thought I was high, like I can do this, like this is awesome, like I'm glad I quit my job. And then I remember the 2 middle weeks where there was this lull. It was hard, it was painful. And every single day it was like, I remember texting my husband like, oh my God, what did I do? Like I suck, like this sucks. Like, it was just all of this negative talk, and it was all obviously driven by my self-doubt and just putting all of my worth into, you know, my financial success. And so that's when I kind of started meditating, journaling, doing yoga, and that I think really helped.
So far in the 2 years, what was the hardest moment where you had to really, you know, buckle down and grit yourself in and go through it?
First moment that I remember that was really, really hard was that I was in production. So I was fully funded on Kickstarter. I think I had to make like 300 and something dresses, right? And I have 3 sizes. And the whole point of that is also so that it's easier to choose your size, and it's just, it fits more women. So I had 3 sizes, and I remember I went to the factory I think it was in the middle of production, just to check on what was happening. And one of the sizes was way off. Like it was actually a size too big. And I remember like they had already made 70 of, I think, of those dresses. And I just broke down. I started crying. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like I promised these 70 people that they would get this size, and they end up getting like, this is like 2 sizes too big. Like it's just ridiculous. So I told the factory manager, and I was like, I wrote in an email, I was trying to be really calm, and I asked him like, you know, or I told him this is not what I wanted. Like I wanted this, and you guys gave me this. How do we fix it? And he pretty much was like, well, I don't know, because we can't do it. Like I think there wasn't enough fabric to remake these dresses, and also he didn't want to remake 70 dresses. And he said it would just push production way late. And so I told him, okay, like let's talk to the seamstress. Let's see if we can actually just use the same 70 dresses, but just make them into the size that I want. So just kind of tailor them. And he was like, that's going to backtrack us a couple days. And I told him, I'll come to the factory and I'll help you open up the seams, and we'll do this, but we're going to get it done. And so I went for like 3 days straight, and I was there from the morning to like afternoon, and I was just like cutting all of the seams, and we did it. We got it done.
A lot of the times people will say to me, I don't think I have the skill set to be an entrepreneur because, you know, in the beginning, I will freak out about a problem as opposed to go into problem solving mode. And I'm like, okay, great. Who's around you that can help you with that? So do you have somebody that is really great at that? Would you consider a business partner with them? Would you, because we can always, you know, get around those things, are the areas where we feel that we aren't as great as somebody else if we have the right support system. And I think that's so important.
so I have a couple of people that I go to, right, for different problems, but definitely, and they all offer different support, or different type of support. So my husband is like the initial, like, oh my God, like I'm so emotional right now. I don't know how to like navigate that. And then I have one of my friends who, she actually used to have she was a retailer and actually just sold her business and is kind of going through transition herself right now. But she's a really great business, kind of has a really great business mind. And so I always go to her for business advice. Like, okay, like I just told these people that I would give them like this size. What do I do? And so she kind of tells me like, okay, fix that size. And then I have my sister who is kind of like she's like the encourager, she's like the nurturer, she's very she helps me kind of like, she's like my hype person pretty much. And so she's all like, you can do this, like I believe in you. And so it's funny because I have those 3 different people that I go to for really big problems or even small problems. But yeah, it takes a village.
Once you are okay with that idea of trust, and you just say like, I can't say exactly how this is going to work, but I have trust that it will work. And those people start coming in. And then you can see where you can get that support and that help, because we do need that. And that happens in motherhood too, of like, here's where the universe is supporting me in my vision and in my dream, and I'm trusting in it. And when you trust in it, those things start to happen. It's kind of amazing.
So before we end, why don't you just give one tip to other lady boss mamas around working your dream, living your dream, and raising a child? The one tip that you would give.
Give yourself grace. I think that's my number one tip. You know, it's not easy, and like it's the best, and it's also the worst, and it's the easiest, and it's also the hardest. Like, it's just, give yourself grace. Like, you know, right now I'm struggling I'm still at home most of the time with my daughter and trying to do the business. And there are days where my to-do list, like, I don't even get to it. But, you know, at the end, I have a happy child who's, you know, thriving, and she's doing great. So that's all that matters. You know, if I'm not getting to my to-do list, you know, that's fine. Like, it'll get done eventually. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. It's just kind of being okay with what happens.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Hannah.
Hannah, thank you.
Chatting and getting to know you. We live close. So, and then Molly and I are planning a bigger event in October in Palm Springs. So it's also not very far from us. And you know that, so there's lots of ways that we're going to get our tribe together. Molly's going to do some things locally near her hood in Chicago, and then we're going to get everybody together. It's going to be great. We do this every week, so subscribe to our channel and make sure that you watch us and all the people we interviewed, all the fabulous women. And thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks, Hannah.
Bye.